Well, during this month, dedicated especially to Mary, we are pleased to welcome Marge, author of Forgiving Mother. Marge, thanks so much for being with us today. How are you doing in Wisconsin?
Oh, doing great. We're hoping, we're praying for spring soon.
Well, we finally, I think, hit it here. In New England, it comes and it goes. It makes an appearance, then it disappears again. So we'll see what happens. Well, thanks for being with us again, Marge. You've written other books. What was your motivation for writing Forgiving Mother?
Yeah, my siblings, hands down. For years and years and years. So for the audience who may not know, this is a book about learning how, through the grace of God, through the heart of our Blessed Mother, to truly forgive. In my case, it was being raised by a mom who was deeply troubled, and for years my siblings told me, you need to write our story. You need to write your story, mine in particular, because I had a closeness to the Blessed Mother that they didn't quite have. And finally, when my mother passed away, my spiritual director told me I knew it was time, and I knew it was time. And that was the motivation. The motivation was them really supporting me and saying, you have something to offer the world in what you've learned through this. And then the way my mother passed away, the way that it's kind of a spoiler alert, but she did turn back to Christ on her deathbed. And that gave me a clue from our Lord that, yep, it's time and I need to do this.
And of course, this is the month of Mary, Marge. Is mothers, or who did you have in mind when you wrote this book to reach out to? Is it for everybody? You're focusing on moms?
No, I'm not focusing on moms at all. It's anybody. Truly, it's anyone who has been hurt or harmed by another person. Now, in my case, it addresses very specifically the mother wound. So those who suffer that mother wound will find great benefit from the book for sure, because we'll be kindred spirits immediately. I revealed enough of myself that people understand that I know what I'm talking about, and that they can see a little bit of themselves in me. But I'm told by now, the book has been out a little bit, many people come to me saying, you know, you could take the word mother out and you could substitute father, spouse, boss, you know, anybody who has harmed you or hurt you in any way. So it's kind of a broad and yet a very narrow audience, in the sense that it's the pain. It's the pain that our Lord can heal and our Blessed Mother can comfort.
Forgiveness can be such an elusive thing, Marge, because it can be very hard to do. Did you find by writing this book and talking about forgiveness that it was even a healing experience for you?
It absolutely was. By the time I wrote the book, I really think, for the most part, reached my level of forgiveness that I was seeking. But in writing the book, it made all that we had gone through worth it, even more, 100-fold, because I could see that the pain that I suffered was going to help other people. And I know that's why my siblings wanted me to write it. I know that's why they urged me. And this is the feedback that I'm getting. And, you know, forgiveness, you're right, it's a very elusive kind of thing. And so what I have a formula, and what I say is, in my presentations and then in my other writings, I say that real forgiveness is rare, meaning it's actually an acronym. It is rare, truly as a word, but the acronym stands for, and we don't have enough time on the show to really go in depth, but basically it's review, acknowledge, release, and entrust. It's a process. Forgiveness is a process. They do say I've read, it's a decision. Yeah, it is. It's a decision. You decide that you're going to seek forgiveness, but it very much is a process that's cyclical. And this has been my experience and that of others.
Well, we're running out of time, but Marge, I want to know, so you wrote this book and you're telling your story, but for people who read this book, is it also maybe a possible guide of how they can get through a process of healing a relationship?
Exactly, because the only reason I tell my story is so that folks can learn the process. That's the premise of the book. Here's how it went for me. It can go the same for you, or even better. Who knows? You know, God's grace can do many things.
Well, Marge, it's been a pleasure today. Always great talking to a person from Wisconsin. Our chief engineer, Mark Queller, will be thrilled because he's from Wisconsin. So you'll be one of his favorite guests of all time. Where can people learn more about the book?
You can learn more about the book on my website, margefenelon.com. That's got pretty much the composite of all that I've got out there.
Okay, and is that where can they get a copy from there too, or?
They can get a copy from there. They can get a copy from Servant Books, which is a division of Franciscan Media. And I'm sure, your local Catholic bookstore. We always like to promote those local Catholic bookstores.
You bet we do. Hey, Marge, pleasure speaking with you today. You have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.